Okay, good afternoon, everybody. My name is Andrius. I was introduced. I work for a Ministry of Interior, but not a Ministry of Interior that usually GIS specialists work with. So, working with management of support measures and management of systems for regional development. And for regional development, we are trying to shape our position in little other direction. We're trying to see Lithuania not as administrative boundaries, but as a network of constellations of cities, towns, where usually people live and business is done. So we are changing principle, which is usually can be translated to regional policies made of money. This regional policies financing for something, and if you don't get a finance from regional policy, it doesn't exist to you. So. And what else? It's a complicated scheme. I will not comment it, but the scheme leads to another principle that we make decisions based on decisions. So ministries decide on what to finance in a national level. Regions decide what to finance at the regional level if a ministry finances that. And we have selection procedure, and everything turns around this. So it is decisions made on financing are made because it was decided somewhere. In this case, we have traditionally analysis of problems, and we have responses to problems which are very typical. So if we are dealing with urban shrinkages or urban deprivation problems, we let municipalities to decide on what to renovate in the city. The same thing we do with small and medium cities, which are having problems a little different. We have problems with economic structure, we have problems with economic activity, and sometimes, yes, we do it right. We do a conversion things. Sometimes we do nice things that municipalities likes and decides to like it. And what we are trying to do, I tried to write a paper for ourselves. More than 100 people participated from various spheres and made some points for us that we should do something different. We should work with regional communication, we should work on evidence, we should work on responsibility and competence, and we should harmonize the policies somehow, not limiting everything to rotating of money. And what is important, I think, is evidence, which is actually not beautiful, because it's a nice buzzword to have evidence-based management, but when you come to real data, it usually looks like this, and you cannot show it to a politician. So I try to make it look like this more. I have ideas on regional specialization, and we should somehow make this big data look like some parts for metal and some parts for heavy metal. So another problem was very well formulated more than 100 years ago in a book most of, I think, my age population has read, is a territorial cohesion problem. It's a willingness to live somewhere in a nice place and still have all services and quality of life available, and not too many people around. So the same principle almost identically is formulated by European Commission. People should be able to live whatever we want, and it's our problem to provide them access to goods and services. And for illustration, people do that. people, in fact, do that. They move outside the city, but not too far away from the city. And basically, these are territories which are not dense, but with high accessibility to everything. So accessibility is key. And to make this work, to have an ideal cohesion, we need a little more people in Lithuania, and we don't have them. So we are trying to do something we can do. It would be less ideal. Not everybody would be happy, but we are trying to give solutions to optimize networks, and this means that everything we can grab and geocode, we should geocode. Everything we can join, we should join. We should standardize data to basic entities, and these are quite simple, but rarely working in national databases. One is legal entity, another is territory, and third one is a topographic identification. So having 3 of these points, we can join almost everything, and we should try to do that. And after that, we can do nice things and do policy. For example, what can already be shown to politicians, not showing big tables, is showing hot and cold spots and explaining it in a very simple way. The red ones are good ones, the blue ones are bad ones, and these white areas in the middle are functional urban areas. So we should try to move these white territories to the red ones more, and we should connect them and build a strategy on that. To make it more complicated, we need, of course, more elaborate decisions, and we should show what we are doing wrong. What are we doing? We are compiling data and making it look a little different when we talk about policy. As usually, let's say, taking into account any municipality negotiating with any government, we have problem. We say we don't have, let's say, sports infrastructure in municipality, and we are right. We only have two bigger objects, and we say our people don't have a possibility to make sports. But if we add this data and join it with some location allocation techniques, you can say that your people usually can access about 14 sport objects, not 2, which are in a municipality, and you can use it jointly, and you can probably finance it jointly to having better quality of services for everyone. The same thing can be done with almost any entity if we know where we are and what we are doing. Another thing what can be calculated already if you join the data with national social security agency, you can know how many people work there and how they are paid. So if we have big accessibility and low salaries, we can think about these people doing too much for too little money. So we can have a policy for social affairs. And to finalize, we can optimize systems based on statistical analysis and use an integrated approach to, let's say, education. This map represents density of transport, which is related to kids going to schools. And simple solution for that. We have about, here in this area, we have about 1,500 cars crossing 1 square kilometer just because here around the Vilnius city administrative borders, we don't invest in schools. And to finalize, it's a very short thing. We can use it as a policy tool. So we are now starting to negotiate on about 1 billion euro with the European Commission, and we say that we should make these investments based on functional areas development programs, based on integrated development of systems, based on public transport integration, because we have also made a little calculations, and we say that about 25% of Lithuanians, not Lithuanian territory, but Lithuanians cannot access to public transport at all, having a bus once or 2 times a day. So, and what it will be based on? It will be based on joint management of infrastructures in some cases and accessibility measures, which are we are designing. And third thing, we still believe in decentralized system. We hope that municipalities working with us can develop these programs and take very responsible decisions. So that could be it. Do you have time? A little more. Okay, so I was in a rush. So I'll just come back to. Okay, so I'll come back to this layer. It will be, the link will be active in my presentation. I think it will be disseminated, but just I'll try to show how we come to such solutions. So one and first try of us, which failed miserably, was well known in Lithuania hospital reform, which was stopped because not everybody liked the idea that not all municipalities should have their hospitals, and accessibility still can be produced in quite a normal way. And another finding was very interesting, that Vilnius is lacking one more hospital. So it's also clear, and a system can function with rules we set up in regional policy white paper, which means every resident should access this service in 1 hour. So, we're not giving up and trying to work with education and try to calculate what's going to happen in next 5 years in this sphere, and to use it and to sell it, I think, to Mr. Poderskis, the idea of 10 schools in Vilnius, and we can offer our services it with European Commission, because it's rather clear that almost all of primary schools in Vilnius, or institutions providing primary education services, which is simply classified by simple filter element true, are concentrated in the center, and this flows from around municipality are coming to the center, and the conflict of Vilnius city and surrounding areas is solved in very bureaucratic way, just to making schools in Vilnius district owned by not municipality but by government. while we can do that inside Vilnius in some specific parts and solve a problem of Vilnius transport a little bit, and problem of Lithuanian schools in Vilnius region also. There are some worse news. We can also quite clearly identify critical points where schools will not make enough pupils in the future. And to have one more conclusions, these schools are border schools of municipalities, and it's quite visible that two municipality schools compete with each other, and we both will be closed instead of having one operating. So it's also a part of these future strategies is consolidation of services across borders of municipalities. It's one of the keys, and we also can negotiate and finance that. What other things are critical is our biggest problem, in my opinion, now working on a pilot project for regional public transportation systems, because of also very very similar problem that public transportation systems and population distribution and municipality borders don't talk to each other. So we should use some practices, simply probably copy many elements from the countries which have the systems operational, work on financial incentives for those who are joining, support some municipalities which already started doing that, namely Klaipėda region, which are joining their transportation systems, and I think people are much more happy because of that. And somehow, in this case, go beyond boundaries of municipalities and to expand the functional region, because also analyses show that we are rather small in Lithuania. Because OECD talks about 45 minutes in Europe as a normal commuting area. We talk about 60 minutes in USA, because we are used to living in a cars more. But for Lithuania, we still cannot exceed 30 or even 20 minutes threshold. So we should work on that, and also work on the same things, on outliers where the transportation should work and it does not really. Wait a second, where it is? Where it is, and what explains, let's say, Jana's observation on Neringa, why we have too many cars, because we have too little buses, I think. So for exploration, these apps will be open, and what is else, everybody can join us in our group. If you have an organizational account, every institution, organization, or enthusiast can join us, take our data, look for more layers, and we have a lot of them. For example, doing our small analysis on current cities which are targeted territories when we try to explain to audit what we are doing and why we are doing that. We have lots of data connected and calculated. We try to predict our current age situation, all of age groups. We cracked statistical data a little bit from census. We cracked some data from building permits. We joined that back to official statistics of 17 and had some distribution patterns which are not 100% precise, of course, but still better than to use a municipality as a big block of equal indicators. So thank you.
Thank you, impressive presentation and information. I think is important also for journalists. I'm looking at one of them. So there is one question from me. How do you handle challenge of obtaining data from other institutions, and what is their quality?
Well, I will be polite. If institutions could do one or few simple things, starting with IDs and addresses, it would be easier. But we mostly looking and taking data which is open data. So we have some very good examples, like already mentioned Social Security Office, which is very nice and clean and operable data. We have nice data from public procurement, which are easily joined. And we have big problems with, let's say, libraries or rural communities, which are probably done once and done for money, not for result. So it varies, but it is hard, but it is possible to crack it and to join it somehow after some effort.